Judah Loew ben Bezalel, alt. Loew, Olive, widely known to scholars of Judaism as the Maharal of Prague, or simply the Maharal. The Hebrew acronym of Morenu Harav Loew, was an important Talmudic scholar, Jewish mystic, and philosopher who, for most of his life, served as a leading rabbi in the cities of Mikolov in Moravia and Prague in Bohemia. Within the world of Torah and Talmudic scholarship, he is known for his works on Jewish philosophy and Jewish mysticism and his work Gara'yer al-HaTorah, a super-commentary on Rashi's Torah commentary. The Maharal is the subject of a 19th-century legend that he created the Golem of Prague, an animate being fashioned from clay. Rabbi Loew is buried at the Old Jewish Cemetery, Prague in Josefov, where his grave and intact tombstone can still be visited. His descendants' surnames include Loew, Loew, Oppenheimer, Fielzer, Lowenstein and Keim. Biography. The Maharal was probably born in Poznan, Poland, though Perels lists the birth town mistakenly as Worms in the Holy Roman Empire, to Rabbi Bezalel, whose family originated from the Rhenish town of Worms. His birth year is uncertain, with different sources listing 1512, 1520 and 1526. His uncle Jacob ben Chargim was Reichsrabbiner of the Holy Roman Empire, his brother Haim of Friedberg a famous rabbinical scholar. There is no documented evidence of his having received formal religious education, leading scholars to conclude that he was an extremely gifted autodidact. His family consisted of his wife, Pearl, 6 daughters, and a son, Bezalel, who became a rabbi in Kolin, but died early in 1600. He was independently wealthy, probably as a result of his father's successful business enterprises. He accepted a rabbinical position in 1553 as Landsrabbiner of Moravia at Mikolov, directing community affairs but also determining which tractate of the Talmud was to be studied in the communities in that province. He also revised the community statutes on the election and taxation process. Although he retired from Moravia in 1588 at age 60, the communities still considered him an authority long after that. One of his activities in Moravia was the rallying against slanderous slurs on legitimacy that were spread in the community against certain families, and could ruin the finding of a marriage partner for the children of those families. This phenomenon even affected his own family. He used one of the 2 yearly grand sermons to denounce the phenomenon. He moved back to Prague in 1588, where he again accepted a rabbinical position, replacing the retired Isaac Hayoth. He immediately reiterated his views on Nadler. On the 23rd of February 1592, he had an audience with Emperor Rudolf II, which he attended together with his brother Sinai and his son-in-law Isaac Cohen. Prince Bertia was present with the emperor. The conversation seems to have been related to Kabbalah, a subject which held much fascination for the emperor. In 1592, the Maharal moved to Poznan, where he had been elected as chief rabbi of Poland. In Poznan he composed Netavoth Olam and part of Der Reichheim, Davidic line according to Jewish tradition. The Maharal's family descended patrilineally from the Babylonian exiles and therefore also from the Davidic dynasty. Death. Towards the end of his life he moved back to Prague, where he died in 1609. He was buried in the Old Jewish Cemetery, Prague. His name, Loew, or Loew, derived from the German Loew, lion, is a kinui or substitute name for the Hebrew Judah or Yehuda, as this name, originally of the tribe of Judah, is traditionally associated with a lion. In the Book of Genesis, the patriarch Jacob refers to his son Judah as a Gara'yer, a young lion, when blessing him. In Jewish naming tradition, the Hebrew name and the substitute name are often combined as a pair, as in this case. The Maharal's classic work on the Rashi commentary of the Torah is called the Gara'yer al-HaTorah in Hebrew, meaning young lion, commenting upon the Torah. The Maharal's tomb in Prague is decorated with a heraldic shield with a lion with 2 intertwined tails. alluding both to his first name and to Bohemia, the arms of which has a two-tailed lion. Influence. Disciples. It is unknown how many Talmudist rabbinical scholars the Maharal taught in Moravia, but the main disciples from the Prague period include rabbis Yom Tov Lippmann Heller and David Gans. The former promoted his teacher's program of regular Mishnah study by the masses, and composed his Tosfot Yom Tov with this goal in mind. David Gans died young, but produced the work Zemach David, a work of Jewish and general history, as well as writing on astronomy. Both the Maharal and Gans were in contact with Tycho Brahe, the famous astronomer. Jewish philosophy. In the words of a modern writer, the Maharal prevented the Balkanization of Jewish thought. His works inspired the Polish branch of Hasidism, as well as a more recent wave of Torah scholars originating from Lithuania and Latvia, most markedly Rabbi Eliyahu Eliezer Dessler as well as Rabbi Abraham Isaac Kook. A more recent authority who had roots in both traditions was Rabbi Isaac Kutner. Rabbi Kutner succinctly defined the ethos of the Maharal's teachings as being Nistar Belason Nigla, meaning the hidden in the language of the revealed. That is, the Maharal couched Kabbalistic ideas in non-Kabbalistic language. As a mark of his devotion to the ways of the Maharal, Rabbi Kutner bestowed the name of the Maharal's key work, the Garaya, upon a branch of the yeshiva he headed when he established its kollel, which then became a division of the yeshiva Rabbi Chaim Berlin in New York during the 1950s. Known as Kollel Garaya. Both of these institutions, and the graduates they produced, continue to emphasize the intellectual teachings of the Maharal. Rabbi Kutner in turn also maintained that Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch must also have been influenced by the Maharal's ideas, basing his seemingly rationalistic Weltanschauung on the more abstract and abstruse teachings of the hard-to-understand Jewish Kabbalah. Rabbi Judah Loew was not a champion of the open study of Kabbalah as such, and none of his works are in any way openly devoted to it. Instead, what they attempt to do is to make the ideas of the Kabbalah accessible to the average educated reader, by presenting them in a rigorously philosophical form, couched in terms that are accessible to the public. According to R. Loew, only the greatest of Torah scholars are able to perceive the full intent of the Kabbalistic works in their complex entirety. Therefore, although Kabbalistic doctrine permeates his writings, it is always presented in a rational and philosophic form. His main Kabbalistic influences appear to have been the Zohar, Sefer Yetzirah, and traditions of the Chassidei Ashkenaz, as Lurianic Kabbalah had not by that time reached Europe. Faced with the Aristotelian interpretation of Talmudis Agadot by Azariah Dei Rossi, he was indignant at what he termed the trivialization of the Sage's deep wisdom. In his work Be'er HaGola he vigorously disputes all of Dei Rossi's theses, sternly upholding the subtly allegorical nature of Agada and demonstrating its independence from the superficial observations of natural science. At the same time he was entirely in favor of scientific research, so long as the researcher did not use his observations as permission to contradict the final authority of divine revelation. His constant thesis is that the Talmudic, Midrashic, and Agadic teachings refer always to matters far beyond the competence of natural science. Descendants. Among his many descendants were Shneur Zalman of Liadi, founder of Chabad Hasidism. Through him, he is the ancestor of many prominent later Jewish individuals, including Menachem Mendel Schneerson, 7th Rebbe of Lubavitch, and Yehudi Menuhin, the famous violinist. Maharal is also the ancestor of Rebbe Nachman of Breslov. Legend of the Golem. The Maharal is the subject of the legend about the creation of a golem, a creature made out of clay to defend the Jews of the Prague ghetto from anti-Semitic attacks, particularly the blood libel. He is said to have used mystical powers based on the esoteric knowledge of how God created Adam. The general view of historians and critics is that the legend is a German literary invention of the early 19th century. The earliest known source for the story thus far is the 1834 book Der jüdische Gilblas by Friedrich Korn. It has been repeated and adapted many times since. Works: Geraya, a super commentary on Rashi's Pentateuch commentary. Netavoth Olam, a work of ethics. Tifereth Yisrael, philosophical exposition on the Torah, intended for the holiday of Shavuot. Gevuroth Hashem, for the holiday of Passover. Netzich Yisrael, on Tisha B'Av and the final deliverance. Ner Mitzvah, on Hanukkah. Orchadash, on Purim. Derech Haim, a commentary on the Mishnah Tractate Havith. Be'er Hagola, an explanatory work on the Talmudis and Midrashi Haggadah, mainly responding to interpretations by the Italian scholar Azariah Dei Rossi. Chiddushai Aggadot, discovered in the 20th century. Dirashot, Divrei Negadim, a commentary on the Seder of Pesach, published by a descendant. Chiddushim al-Hashas, a commentary on Talmud, recently published for the first time from a manuscript by Machon Yerushalayim on Bava Metzia, Shabbos, and Eruvin. Others may be forthcoming. Various other works, such as his responsa and works on the Jewish Sabbath and the holidays of Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, have not been preserved. His works on the holidays bear titles that were inspired by the biblical verse in I Chronicles chapter 29 verse 11. Yours, O Lord, are the greatness, and the might, and the glory, and the victory, and the majesty. For all that is in the heavens and on the earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom in you, he who is exalted over everything as the leader. The book of greatness on the Sabbath was not preserved. But the book of power is Gevuroth Hashem, the book of glory is Tifereth Yisrael, and the book of eternity, or victory, is Netzich Yisrael. Commemoration. In April 1997, Czech Republic and Israel jointly issued a set of stamps, one of which featured the tombstone of Loew. In May 2009, the Czech Post issued a stamp commemorating the 400th anniversary of Loew's death. In June 2009, the Czech Mint issued a commemorative coin marking the same milestone.